Hello and welcome to the round 17 team sheets video. It is George from Fantasy Take TV, and today we'll go over all 9 games. It won't be too long, I think. End of the season, so a few little things here and there to speak about. Some injuries, so we can speak about some replacements, and also some rookies to quickly touch on. So we'll go over that. So the Geelong versus Melbourne game, a good game up until probably the fourth quarter. Then Geelong really got on top. So yeah, Geelong looking pretty good at the moment. I think Dangerfield looked good. He's a cheap option. I think still slight worry on durability with him. But I think with a lot of these injury-prone players, like you look at Mitch Duncan, a bit of continuity, a few games under the belt, and there's not a whole lot left for the rest of the season to get through. So I guess it's okay for some of these sort of players. But the ones with we've seen with no continuity, Hull, Zorko, for example, are too dangerous. But even then, these plays are cheap for a reason. So Dangerfield, if you're struggling for money, I don't mind him. I think he's low 400s at M8. And Duncan's quite cheap, especially without Stewart. I don't know, is he another 2 weeks or something? I can't remember how long Stewart was out for. He could be one you go for. Again, I prefer others, but if that's your price range, it's not too bad. Tom Atkins was good in the midfield. I wonder if he's an option next year. I think 4-round average of 104 now in the midfield. And then Melbourne, nothing to discuss. Max Gawn on return, dropping a few marks. Same old for Max Gawn, but the games where he starts clunking him, next week, I think it'll be a nice pod if Lysette doesn't get up and he has to play against the Finlayson and Charlie Dixon. Watching Dixon, he gets really physical in the ruck, but I think Finlayson's one that you can get on top of quite easily, but they're not ruckmen, so you'd still think that Gawn kills him around the ground again, and they'll need to win that against Port next week, so he's an option I don't mind. Sydney versus the Dogs. I won't go over all the ins because they're just not really relevant here, but English without Sweet looks great. So if you held him, that's great. I think 80% of the top 5K held him. So probably not a huge difference if the people that did have him held him. So 80% of the comp basically has him. So he'll be nice. No Tom Hickey, so maybe that's a nice matchup for him. Mills, hopefully, if you have him, he gets played in position. I thought he just had a bad game, and they were screwing with his role a bit. Again, these players with limited pre-seasons, you always fear slightly that they tail off a little bit, like a Doherty and Mills. Who else? I can't remember who else, but there's probably a few others in there. But you would think Mills bounces back. He still got through the entire season, basically doing all right. But yeah, just trying to think of explanations as to why he couldn't get near it, even though his role was still changed. Second half, he still played midfield, but just didn't get near it. But yeah, that's all from the Swans side. Dylan Stephens looks good, so hopefully he can keep playing well. But yeah, unfortunately, that rookie didn't really work out this year when it sort of looked like it would, but that's all right. The Dogs, another game, last game without Bailey Smith, so I like the Dogs mids in this game to do well. McRae CBAs weren't too bad last week, but it's sort of not exactly where we want them to be. Bedendo, I don't mind him. I thought he looked quite good last week, so he's one you could look at this week. There's another rookie, Josh Carmichael, we'll touch on, a bit cheaper and DPP, so probably opt for him. But I think Bedendo gets a run, but does have to play because the Dogs are trying to play finals, so they need to play their best team. Collingwood versus North, so this is recently updated. De Goey's out for 2 to 3 with a quad injury. In comes Josh Carmichael. So if you went early on him over Cully, it's looking good at the moment. So I think roughly 100 average in the VFL, something like that. So tackles a lot, doesn't get 30 disposals, low 20s, but high tackles, and the coaches seem to love him. So he's one you could look at. I'd be happy to go early on him. Seems to have big reps on him. And North Melbourne, a few ins and outs here. Whole out. I think, don't know how long, I can't remember, might have been 1 or 2 weeks, but it's just hard to trust at the moment, so I'd jump off him if you can. Although the cover is quite good in Ware and Ambrosio, although Ware's playing a bit forward, I think, so I might more likely put in a poorer score from him, but Ware, been impressed with him. Yeah, that's probably it. Chris Name at halfback, he played a bit of halfback last week, so hopefully they keep him there because last year his scoring was better the less CBAs he had. So hopefully that's the case and he plays halfback, but just needs to find a bit of form. But I wouldn't be jumping off for anything. A few bad games, it happens to most players, so it's fine. Cameron Cox, I think I would probably jump off Cameron when Grundy comes in, to be honest, but who knows when that will be. And maybe you can get a look at it, because Cameron scored, I think, 77 with Grundy last year, but I assume he'll get more ruck time this year, so maybe he can push 90, 85 with Grundy, which isn't the worst for, I don't know, 3 games or something, if you want to upgrade elsewhere in the time being. But yeah, ideally you'd want him to like a Dogs player or something when that time comes, or a different ruck. Goldie's solo rucking with Cherry out now, so if you have him, I think that's fine. Would I trade him in? Probably. I probably prefer other options at this point now that Gaunt's back and we got a lot of good forwards. But I think he's a solo ruck. He should be decent. Suns versus Richmond. Nothing really here. Rankin has been really, really good. He dropped to rookie price around 200k, and I think he's in the 400s now. Cheetahs omitted. I don't know. Is the other rookie playing? Big Ace. Huago Paul Oaya. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, Cheetahs very stiff if you went for him. Viv goodish, okay VFL numbers, mature age. Like, what was the point playing him 30%? But yeah, nothing you can do about it now. Just dead on the bench, I guess. Miller's probably in for Gibcus, but I don't think anyone would have Gibcus. And Dusty's got a hammy and Vlosten's out for a week. So if you have him, he's probably still a hold. Given we have okay defense cover. And that's pretty much all to speak about here. Wits, hopefully he bounces back, but Toby Nankervis has been in good form, intercepting a fair bit, doing really well around the ground and getting physical in the middle. So he's on fire at the moment, so you'd be happy if you had him. Riolo's playing, so that's alright, but I don't think many people need cover this week, unless they have a Kadeen Coleman or something. But yeah, I think we can move on. Port and GWS, so Butters is back, so if you have him, I guess see how he goes. Always kind of worry with the nature of this injury, but just see how he goes, I guess. Not one I'd bring in, but one where you have him, just see how he goes. But yeah, has a high ceiling. We haven't seen like a big 150 or that sort of game which he has in him, just hasn't come out yet, but it could come, you never know, but see how he goes. Giants seem to not defend a whole lot in the midfield. It seem to be involved in a lot of high scoring games, like shootouts, which is fun to watch, so maybe this is a game where the Port mids go well. What else we got here? Still no Bruce. Peatling's in. So you have Flynn, not in the best form, but they're backing him in. I think Bruce is one where he needs a bit of continuity, as the coach said this week. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So Kiefer's in, probably to help relief. Where's he listed? Defense. Himmelberg, they've done this 5 weeks in a row. I'm pretty confident he'll play back, and he looks like a really good selection. So good job if you jumped on him. Even if he plays like a quarter, in the ruck, he still looks good. But yeah, I think we'll move on. Oh, the one interesting one is Hopper is emergency. So apparently it was poor in the VFL, but coming off an injury, he's one where you just hope he sub a few times and scores bad, and we get him for sub 300 next year, because he'll be one of my first picked. I think he can do 90s, 95 if he's a midfielder in full preseason. So hopefully we get him cheap next year. So one to watch. St Kilda versus Fremantle Saturday night. Hunter Clark out injured. I had that nasty one, and the jaw, I can't remember. Banfield out for Fremantle. So again, we're going to see maybe Fife get a bit more mid time, but Brody, I think, is their best inside mid. Brayshaw's the best all-round mid, and his inside game was really good last week, but I think Brody's the best pure mid, so I don't think Fife in his current form should be pushing out Brody at all. And then Rowan, I think, playing with Ryder, he's had a few good games, Rowan, so maybe he's one that had limited preseason, so he's needed to build himself up, but a bit up and down this year, so he probably needs a full preseason for us to look at him next week. I don't know if Fremantle tag, but there's a non-Sinclair owner. I would love to see him tagged, but yeah, he's unbelievable this year. And also I think Taberner's playing, so Taberner was in doubt with a hammy or something, so that's good for Sean Darcy. No Lloyd Meek, but might be keep an eye on that, a laid out or something. But yeah, see how it goes. So the Lions and Essendon, so some of these are extended benches, but first thing for me, if you have Big O, Darcy Fort is in, which probably hurts the CBA. So Big O saw a spike about 20% in CBAs with no Fort, so I expect that to come down again 20%. So that's a bit annoying, but yeah, as I'm recording this, I want to get this out early. But yeah, another 20 minutes until Sunday team. So maybe I should have waited for Sunday teams, but that's whatever. I don't think too much matters. A lot of these for the Lions are injuries and health and safety protocols, like Coleman, H&S protocols. I think he's a hold unless you want to upgrade him. He's been in good form though. Rich, 1 to 2 weeks. I think you could hold just because we have good cover back there, but if you had the luxury of trading, I would. And then Zorko, probably needed to trade him for Stephen May at the price, so yeah, that's over now. But Carter Michael is a defender rookie. Good numbers in the VFL from memory. Had a good preseason, and with no Coleman and no Rich, I assume he's a decent chance, but I'm not sure. But yeah, that's Tunstall's one you could look at in the midfield. He looks good, and I think he'll get some opportunity. Seems to be ahead of Devon Robertson. So yeah, I think he's one you could go for, and I like the look of him. So he's one you could go for. And then Essendon is whatever. Merritt looks good. Disposals were down, but a bit more damaging forward of centre. So that's good. And Parrish is listed here. He is out 4 weeks for the calf strain. So I think that's a must trade for 4 weeks. So yeah, that's half of the. What do we have? 7 games left. Yeah, he's got to go. Hawks versus Crows. I like Laird as a captain option. Although Neil was very enticing as well. He's a good record against the Bombers. Although I think they've used McGrath to tag on and off, and Neil seems to get tagged every game. So I'm trying to think who should I captain out of those two, because I did VC on Oliver. Or maybe I should take it. I'm not too sure, but I'll think about it. Yeah, Hawthorn. I think Captain Ben McAvoy's back. So is he rocking, playing defense? Where is he? Forward. I'm not too sure how they use him, but I don't think it matters too much. Nothing really to discuss here. A few rebounding defenders out, and Warple out means hopefully that holds for. Oh, no Butler here. No, he's injured. So maybe that's good for Connor McDonald, I guess, if you have him. And then the Crows, not much on this side. So Haley's still playing wing. I guess not relevant anymore. Well, we made 200k there, which is actually pretty good. I think that went under the radar, but had a bit of a role change. And then Saligo's playing a bit more half forward, so not great. He should be on a wing. Hopefully they make that happen. Dawson listed in defense, played forward, and it didn't work. In terms of his overall impact, he was impacting the game much more on a wing and halfback last week, but yeah, moved forward in the last quarter and low impact. That was a very bad coaching move, I think, and I hope that we don't see that anymore. Maybe for like 10-minute stints, but not a quarter, not 40-minute stints where the game's on the line. That was been over that, so it's whatever. And yeah, if you have Matt Crouch, I don't think he's playing. I think that's what they've said. So he's one where he'll be one of my first picks next year if he's traded and gets midfield opportunity, but see how that goes. I can speak a fair bit on Matt Crouch, but it just doesn't fit with the Crows midfield. I do like him. He's a hard worker and all that, but just what he's been producing in the Crows' current midfield, it's just not working. So see how he goes, I guess. I think last game, West Coast versus Carlton. A few ins here. Let's see. So Greg Clark and Jai Cully. Do you think maybe Greg Clark comes in for Connor West or something? They're all extended bench. So Cully hasn't been named for a debut or anything. Zane Shrew probably gets another go. Yeah, not sure what they roll with here, but I have Cully in my team. Should have gone Carmichael, I think. Carmichael, much better scoring profile, so he's one you can go early on, but Cully can be used as a loop as well, which might be helpful. So, but I still think they'll give him a go at some stage, you would think. So, yeah, a lot of injuries for the Eagles every week, it seems. And Carlton, Durden's in if you have him, although he's extended. So, Kemp is out. So maybe... Oh, okay, Wiedering's in. So Wiedering will be in for Kemp, who I think was playing defense, and that means I don't think Durden comes in. Walsh and Hewitt CBAs were a bit better last week, I think, so that's good. And Chera was taken out of the middle, so because of Chera taken out, probably I don't know if they continue with that, but maybe a higher priority on Sam Walsh, like a Darcy Parish. You could go straight to a Walsh or a Steele. I'd probably go Steele over Walsh, but that's one you could look at. And a Paddy Cripps, I still I mean, Cripps and Dockley apparently were a little bit sore last week. Did light duties at training, but they get a bigger break this week. I think 8 or 9 day break. And Petty Cripps' home is Perth, so maybe he gets up for this game against, let's be honest, not a very good West Coast team. But they are playing a bit better West Coast now that they've got a few players back. So I think we'll leave it at that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.